Good afternoon, everybody. We'll be doing this more regularly and more privately as time goes on, but Susan and I really wanted to get started just on a couple fronts so we get to know each other and get a better sense of what everybody's priorities are and how we work together. I'm going to hand it over to Susan in a second, and she'll tell you how proud we are that this is the most diverse administration in history with more women than we've ever had before. I'll just add one other thing. I just think it's one of the most high-quality group of people that I've ever had an opportunity to work with. It's folks who know this state government from the inside out. It's folks who come in from the outside. It's folks who know public sector. It's folks who come in from the private sector. And I think that's sort of the mix of talents that really are going to gel to make this state work. We're going to talk a little bit about how we're trying to get things reorganized with Paul here in terms of the Chief Operating Officer, what that role means a little bit. David in terms of performance and how we measure what we're trying to do. But that's why I really wanted to kick off this first meeting today. Over to you, Susan.
Thank you so much, Governor, and it is just a pleasure to be with our team. I told the Governor that we all practiced with our first unofficial cabinet meeting when we kicked off the Governor's Council on Women and Girls, and we're excited to have each of you on our team. We're very proud to have almost 50% women and to have the most diverse and talented administration that we've ever had. 39% of our commissioners are people of color. We're proud of everything that you're doing, and we also are looking forward to phase two, if you will. We've had our first 100 days. We think we did a lot, but now we have to move forward. We have a very ambitious agenda, and we're looking forward to hearing from each of you and looking forward to ways that we all can work together more effectively and efficiently. So back to you, Governor.
Let me just add on that I just was talking a lot about the first 100 days, and some of you have been here almost that long. And I'd probably like to hear from each and every one of you what they asked me. Number one was, what has surprised you most about your department? Number two is, what are your priorities? And how maybe they have changed, and what do you hope to accomplish before the end of this year and before the end of this term? I've spent a lot of time talking about silos and government. How have you worked together? So we're trying to figure out what's the best plan of organization as we go forward. We've got a Chief Operating Officer, we've got DECD and David, and what that means in terms of workforce and speeding up the regulatory process. We've got a variety of different groups. How have you sort of worked together with each other? And the final thought I'd leave you with is I was really proud when Lisa Tepper-Bates, who's just joined our team, helped put together our policy groups. And one of the things we said was we'd like them to serve as an informal board of advisors for each and every one of you in your departments. And maybe now's a good time to invite them in and get their insights in terms of what they found when they looked at your department. And I think it's a good chance to have that conversation. Paul, you want to kick things off?
Thanks, Governor, and I want to say it's great to see all of you and all of us coordinating together. I know for many of you, it's I know we have some people who just started just recently, others who've been a part of this administration from the very beginning, but I think at the very end, we're one team with one agenda moving Connecticut forward. So I first and foremost want to just say thank you for saying that you want to serve on behalf of the people of Connecticut and serve this state. I know we all can be doing other things in our lives, but we decided that Connecticut's important, Connecticut is first, and the people of Connecticut is our priority. So one of the things that we're going to do right now is just kind of go around the room and just have everyone just talk about, as the Governor mentioned, what their priorities, who they are, but what are the issues that you are working on as your agency and working with other agencies on. So I'll start off with our DAS Commissioner.
All right, great. Well, good afternoon, everyone. I assume I was asked to go first because I'm probably the one working with many of you on quite a number of cross-agency collaborations. I'm Josh Jabal. I'm the Commissioner of Administrative Services, and I have the great honor to lead the agency that provides a lot of the business functions of state government. And to that end, some of the things that we've been working on over the first 100 days plus here are a number of initiatives aligned with items that the governor campaigned on to bring private sector best practices and efficiency to how we operate the state government. And so everyone around this table is well aware that we're deep into the planning process on several of those and expect to be rolling out some changes in the coming months, very much aligned with what the governor campaigned on, looking at business functions where by working together we can provide better services more efficiently to across the executive branch in particular. We're also in the process of planning to modernize the government's IT infrastructure and provide a digital front door to citizens that gives them the same type of online experience transacting with the state government that we all expect now in our private lives, online banking and shopping. And the governor obviously prioritized that in his budget, and we're working with Secretary McCaw and her team to set out the initial, and David actually as well is a very active member of that team, the initial prioritization of how we will step our way through that in the coming years. And we also, and I won't go through everything we're doing together because we don't have time for that, but we launched an initiative a couple weeks ago around streamlining our government operations, cutting red tape and bureaucracy, and have gotten, after that initial outreach and the hashtag we put out there, dozens of responses from all around the state. I think it's probably into the hundreds by now. And the interesting thing about those is that many of them were very much aligned with things that were already moving forward. So that was great. We did get some great new ideas as well. And we've been sending a number of those around to the commissioners where they're agency specific and really have appreciated the responsiveness everyone has provided in getting answers back to the public who takes the time to send in their thoughts. So thank you for all that. Another exciting initiative, I'm not going to steal Katie's thunder and Melissa's thunder that we're about to get to here, but many others, so I'll stop now. I've already talked too long, but thank you for all of the incredible collaboration that we've experienced working on some of these cross-agency initiatives with all of you. It's been absolutely fantastic so far.
Let me just add one thing on, I wasn't really an expert on DAS a year ago, but in the world that I came out of, you know, IT and personnel and purchasing, the more you can centralize that, the more efficiencies you can get. And that's one of the things that Josh is trying to do with your support. At least dotted line for IT, rather than have everybody have their own IT delivery system, these old legacy systems. Purchasing, the degree to which we can do that together and get some real economies, and personnel. So Josh is taking a real lead role in helping us get consolidated on some of that.
And we think if we can do this in state government, then we'll be a model for municipal government and local school districts too.
Good afternoon, Secretary Melissa McCaw from the Office of Policy and Management. I'm really excited about what we've accomplished over the past 100 days. We were able to introduce Governor Lamont's first budget proposal, and through that budget package, the governor has set some really strong core principles. One, that we are proposing policy that postures Connecticut for growth. Policy that I believe we have collaborated and will continue to collaborate with the experts in this room, but also policy that indicates that to put Connecticut on a path for long-term growth, it's about making the tough choices, driving down our structural cost, incorporating reforms, and that messaging has gone beyond just the traditional conversation with our legislative leaders. That message and conversation has occurred with our rating agencies, which have indicated positive support of the direction that Governor Lamont is leading us in by providing an Outlook upgrade within the past month. We also had a great opportunity along with Treasurer Wooden to go on a investor roadshow to Boston, New York, Chicago, and also here in Hartford to really really begin to tell the story about what leadership here in Connecticut is trying to do to grow our state. And our investors responded so favorably that we had a record bond sale, which drove down our costs for interest for our bonds, but again, indicates broad support for the direction that the state of Connecticut is moving in. And so building on this momentum, and certainly on this journey with all of the experts in this room, it is our goal to really hit the ball running really hard with our first budget, hoping that that actually comes out on time and incorporates the vision of our fine governor. And so that work continues to be underway. We will continue to collaborate with commissioners as the policy is finalized, and really appreciate your support.
You catching up on your sleep?
Yes, I'm building some momentum for the last 6 weeks, sir.
No dose.
Well, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Katie Dykes, and I'm so proud to have the opportunity to serve in the Lamont Bysiewicz administration as the Commissioner of the Department of Energy and Environmental Protection. We're really fortunate in the state of Connecticut to have a strong foundation of a statutory framework that's committed to preserving the safety and the pristineness of our natural environment, whether that's safe drinking water, a thriving park system, and everything in between. And so, you know, what our major strategic focus at DEP is to continue building on that strong foundation and really focusing on how we can improve the efficiency and the transparency of our regulatory process, so that our, our commitment to environmental protection and the strong sort of natural resource advantages that we have in our state can be a competitive economic advantage and can support economic thriving. And this is, I think, going to really be important for our state as we look into the decades ahead. So it's really a focus on good governance, on performance, on metrics, and helping to utilize things like IT investments that can speed and streamline the interface between the regulated community and our agency staff. And that includes other agencies as well. For example, pleased to sit next to my friend, Commissioner Giletti, who is a frequent customer at the Department of Energy and Environmental Protection. What we're doing on streamlining permitting, our teams working together, is helping to ensure that our transportation infrastructure investments can move forward in a way that's consistent with our environmental requirements. So I look forward to partnering with everyone in this room in similar ways. I know we have so many cross-cutting issues to work on together. Our agency is incredibly broad. It ranges from everything from managing wildlife to the entire energy system. And we're making great strides. Commitment to continuing our terrific program of Passport to Parks, for example, is helping to support a thriving state park system, which, by the way, is a great engine for supporting local businesses in areas around parks that are getting more visitorship. Everything from that to helping to preserve the future of our important nuclear facility in the southeast part of the state, which has been a great focus of the past couple of weeks. And the governor's leadership in that area has been tremendous, not just here in the state, but across the New England region. We know that we're facing an urgent threat and challenge with respect to climate change. And really excited today. I think at the end of the meeting we'll be talking about an announcement, a new opportunity for us to expand a program called Lead by Example that the state agencies have been participating in, but to really expand that program to help us work together to leverage what we do across state operations to help lead the way and show how we can reduce carbon emissions in our fleets, in our buildings, and also reduce the waste in the water that we're consuming. So we're really thrilled about the focus on interagency coordination that I think will be critical to this effort. Adapting to climate change is also going to be a major focus for us in the next couple of years, and similarly we'll be looking for your partnership in those areas too. So just pleased to have the opportunity to work with you all.
And good afternoon, and to say what the first issue that I would say has become front and center has been funding and how we're going to look at how we're going to handle this going forward. I am extremely grateful to both the governor and the lieutenant governor, who both have been over at our agency going over a number of issues. and who've also invited me to partake in a number of the events that have gone on around the state that I'm able to offer some support on. You know, for me, what has been the key focus going forward has been the safety end of looking at what we need to do out there. I have been meeting with mayors, I've been meeting with the airports, I've been meeting with the seaports, the National Guard, and in terms of shocks, there's no shocks, Governor, but what I will tell you is it has been tremendously rewarding to see not only the professionalism of the organization I represent, but of the team that you've put together. As you can see, we've already coalesced. I've met a number of my partners in this, and I look forward to working with everybody on this, and thank you for this opportunity.
A lot of people talk about, I'm leaving Connecticut for Florida. Joe said, I'm out of Florida, I'm coming to Connecticut.
Good afternoon. It's David Lehman, Department of Economic and Community Development. Maybe on the question the governor asked in terms of what surprised me, I'm month 2 or the end of month 2 in terms of my time here with the state, but the group that I work with is so talented, and the tremendous institutional knowledge and experience and dedication was really great. And I come from the private sector with some new ideas, and I'm challenging certain old ones, but there's very, very dedicated folks that are here working for the state, and that's, as a taxpayer, I think that's a really great thing, and look forward to continuing to work with them. I would just make 3 comments in terms of my experience and how I've been spending some of my time to date. First, I've been spending the vast majority of my time on PACT. You know, what is PACT? How are we going to change recruitment and retention of business? So we're working very, very closely with CERC down in Rocky Hill on closer collaboration and coordination. We're actually running a search right now for a new CEO down at CERC. And the goal is not just CERC with DECD, but also utilizing the municipalities, the regional chambers, a very cohesive and collaborative team for economic development across the state. I think that's certainly an area where we can improve, and we can work a lot more closely together to get the most out of everyone in the state that wants to see us retain and attract more businesses. The second part of business recruitment is incentives. I've spent a lot of time examining existing policies that are in place, specifically the MAA and Small Business Express, and trying to come up with a judgment and a view. Do we want to continue those policies, or do we want to change them? It's certainly a competitive environment for business and for talent, but making sure that we have the right tools to market and attract people to live, work, and play in Connecticut is really important to me, and I'm spending a significant amount of time on that. I have, and I will continue to do so, to make sure that we have the tools in our toolbox to attract people to the state and make sure they want to stay in the state. The 2 other comments I'd make in terms of I've had 50 or 60 meetings or so with mayors, but primarily with business owners, small business owners as well as big business owners in the state. And beyond the overall marketing the state and the state as a place to live, work, and play, and the fiscal status of the state, the 2 things that come up by far the most, one is transportation, and the other is talent in terms of workforce development. So in terms of the other areas, I plan on spending a significant amount of my time. It's with the gentleman on my right and the gentleman on my left. Workforce development is incredibly important. That probably, I won't say it comes up more than transportation, but that is key, making sure that we have the right people for the jobs we have, and importantly, the jobs of tomorrow. So getting workforce development right, in my opinion, is critical, more so than when I started 2 months ago. I think that is one of the signature things we need to focus on. So maybe that's a good way to pass it on over to Kurt.
Good afternoon, Kurt Westby, Department of Labor. Yes, workforce development is very important to us at the Department of Labor. It's probably the most important thing. Aside from modernization, which has been an effort in the last several years to modernize and upgrade our computer system, which will culminate in May of 2021 with a fully integrated system, which has been taking up a lot of our resources and will continue to do so for the next couple of years. Aside from that project, which has effects on everything else we do, workforce development is clearly the biggie. We've been spending a lot of time on integrating our unemployment insurance and workforce development operations. Just a few years ago, if you went to the American Job Center, that was almost exclusively a workforce development office. It was the old unemployment office, except that we didn't have, at least recently, very many people from our unemployment operations. So we've been integrating that operation. We've closed down our call center, and encourage people who are on unemployment to go into the American Job Centers, get all the training they need, in a one-stop environment. So if I think the governor was out at our Eastern Workforce Board the other week, not only are there unemployment folks and benefits that can be described, but various jobs that are there, resume writing, trainings, apprenticeship office. We have educational opportunities with the local community colleges, services from other agencies such as Doors has an office there. So it's become a one-stop operation, the American Job Center, which we're very proud of, so that people can go in and get out of there much faster than in the old days with a job, and preferably with a high-paying job. We have other projects with a lot of other agencies, such as with DSS. We're working on a pilot to get low-income folks trained up earlier so that they can get in the job market earlier. And as was mentioned, we have manufacturing investment fund grants that we give out, and incumbent worker grants that we give out, working with DECD. And our apprenticeship office, we've been expanding, and we work diligently with DCP, Department of Public Health. They do the licensing part of it, and we've been growing that department as well. Generally, those jobs lead to much higher paying jobs, and that's what we're trying to encourage at DOL.
Good afternoon. My name is Beth By. I'm Commissioner of the Office of Early Childhood. And in our agency, we're working to support the optimal child development for all children in Connecticut. And Connecticut has a good fortune of being #1 in what's called the National Human Development Index, meaning we're making critical investments in children's health and well-being. And we have traditionally, and I think that's why we have such a great workforce in Connecticut, we make those early investments. One of the things that we are focusing on in our office is workforce as well. Connecticut is short 50,000 infant toddler spaces in childcare for children who need to go, for parents who need to go to work. So we're short 50,000 spaces, and Secretary McCaw and I have been working on a plan to try to address this, to encourage the expansion of infant toddler care. And I went down to meet with Electric Boat, and their short childcare spaces for the new workers that they want to recruit. So we have a new focus on workforce in our issue, which is a good follow-up to you all. But we also, I'm so lucky to work with people around the table here. We have a number of collaborations. Governor Lamont has encouraged us to work across agency. We are looking to expand home visiting to get parents that early support that they need, and working with Commissioner BREMBY at DSS and Vicki Veltri in the SIM. We have a couple of ways that we can get federal dollars to increase 50 to 75% of our how much home visiting we do. So we're excited about that. We're also doing some work on child safety with DCF and focusing on preventative care. We also have a federal grant, the Preschool Development Grant, an $8 million grant to look at digital systems that will support optimal outcomes for children and families, and we hope that that work, along with David Wilkinson, will provide a roadmap for ways that we can improve digital systems in Connecticut. So I'll stop there. There's a lot going on, and it's great to be working with all of you.
Good afternoon. My name is Bongi Makubane, and I'm the Commissioner of the Department of Motor Vehicles. And as I enter my 4th week, what was a surprise to me was the dedicated employees we have at the DMV. They are very committed to delivering the very best service to our customers. However, they live in a system that doesn't always give them the tools that they need. So as I've looked out into my first 90 days, I'm focused on 3 things. The first topic is really reducing the lines. That is a real hindrance, and as we approach the summer months, the volume of people coming to the DMV is going to actually increase, which will cause a safety issue to our employees. So we are implementing many strategies, one of which is a communication plan to what we're calling Know Before You Go, we've talked about the DMV is one of the few agencies where people actually get into their car looking to complete a transaction and not knowing whether or not they have the right information to do that. So one of our key focus is going to be Know Before You Go, which will both be online by IVR and other channels where people can actually call us and say, I want to register a car I just bought used. What do I need to do? And so that's one. Another area of focus will be to really look at a customer-centric process whereby if I arrive at the DMV without the right information, I shouldn't wait an hour to find out whether or not my transaction can be completed. So we're also going to be redesigning the process where we're going to be actually meeting people at the door and double checking to make sure that they actually have the right information to complete the transaction. And my third focus for the 90 days is going to be safety of our employees. It's the summer months are coming, it's going to be hot. If you have crowded rooms where people are frustrated not knowing whether or not their transaction is going to be completed, we're actually putting our employees in danger. So the focus is to ensure that we honor their work-life balance, ensure their safety. Then beyond the 90 days, of course, we'll be looking at technology opportunities, we'll be looking at partner opportunities. But for right now, I'm actually focused on the first 90 days and ensuring that we're reducing the lines, we're ensuring residents can complete their transaction the first time out, and also the safety of our employees. I look forward to working with everyone, and I know that certainly one of the things that we've done, just as an aside, when I observed that we were actually training new employees right at the line, thus aggravating the people coming into the DMV, we introduced a training program that we've executed at the branch in Wethersfield rather than local at each one of the branches. And tomorrow we'll be graduating our 14th people or new employees, and we're launching them understanding really how important the job that they have, which can be the first experience that our residents have in terms of interacting with our government. And that experience needs to be positive and long-lasting. And so as we train our employees, we're really excited, they're excited, we're excited, and I'm excited to be here. So thank you for the opportunity.
Let me just ask one thing, if you could. Look out more than 90 days. As you point out, DMV is often our first experience with government on a person-to-person basis. You've given us an idea of what a difference we can make in 90 days. Tell me about 5 years. What does DMV look like?
What DMV looks like is you are sitting in your bed with pajamas on, and you are scheduled to update your license or your registration. You receive an email that says, hey, you're going to be coming to visit us. Let's figure out and make sure that you have the right information. You can take a picture of your license, you take a picture of your insurance, you take a picture of your registration, we look at it, yep, you're ready to go. Hopefully by then, we'll have a way to have real verification and know who you are so that we can click and say it's all good, we check, make sure that everything's good, and off you go, and you don't even have to visit us. But I think within the next 2 years, you'll actually see us rolling out an actual application where we'll be able to do that. Just making sure that we will meet you where you are. We will ensure that not everybody has credit cards, so we'll make sure that people who deal in cash can walk into a place, find a kiosk, register their vehicle, put the money in there, and off you go. So that's what you're going to see, is a much more streamlined process where we're focused on ensuring that the transaction is completed the first time. We're not hassling people, and you get everything that you need at the tip of your finger using the available technology.
Can I just ask, so I'm sitting in my pajamas 5 years from now, right? And I take a picture of each of the documents that you referenced, and then I get an email saying, hey, you're good, and then I can just renew online with my credit card or my debit card? Is that the goal?
Ultimately 5 years from now, but of course, security issues, I think some of the technology is available today in terms of forwarding the documents, but we're going to have to make sure that we're actually dealing with you.
Gotcha.
And we're verifying that your credit card information is verified. So there's a lot of work that we have to do behind the scenes to ensure that we're dealing with the right person. Because as you know, most of the technology that I've talked about is available today.
And does California, so California lets you do a lot online. Do they have more, have they solved that identification issue?
I'm not sure right now. What I do have are 5 states that we're comparing ourselves against and evaluating where we are relative to what's possible in the universe of automation. But in the 3 weeks that I've been here, I haven't gotten deeper into how and where we differ from other states. But I think we're doing pretty good. We're not the worst, we're not the best, but we do know where we're looking, who's doing it best, and we're not going to have to figure out how best to do that. In fact, I think I have a meeting with Josh around e-government this coming Wednesday. So we've been doing a lot of work identifying where we are, what percentage of digitization do we have, where are the opportunities where we can then work with them to actually move us in the right direction.
Good, because the governor and I are overachievers, so we want to be the best.
Yeah, trust me, I'm probably beating you that plus overachiever plus 5. It's only been 3 weeks.
Good afternoon, Governor, Lieutenant Governor, Rod BREMBY, Commissioner, Department of Social Services. We're continuing to focus on reducing Medicaid costs by leading the nation in reduced per member per month costs while improving outcomes for our participants. We're also focused on human well-being. We've been working with Commissioner WESTBY over at DOL to make sure that we reduce some of the barriers which would preclude some of our low-income adults from being able to go to training, get jobs, and perform better. We're also working with Commissioner Bysiewicz, making sure that home visiting for our families, getting a fresh start, a best start, results in better outcomes for our families. We look forward to working with many of you around the table, but we're also looking and focused like a laser on deploying over $500 million of technology to help improve the Medicaid program, but also for many of the other partners across the Health and Human Service platform. So thank you very much for allowing me to be here.
Good afternoon. I'm Brian Hurlbert with the Department of Agriculture. I always start off my public remarks by just reminding people that agriculture is still a $4 billion industry in the state of Connecticut, employing over 20,000 people across 5,500 farms. And so it kind of makes us lift our head to figure out, wow, this is actually a significant industry in our state, and what do we need to do to support it? And there are a number of things that agriculture touches across many of our different agencies here across this table, and I look forward to continuing to work with each of you and your teams to advance this important industry in our state. A couple things that I think we can accomplish quickly: hemp, opening up new markets, creating new opportunities, working with DCP in order to do that. I think we'll have a bill pretty soon. Working with DAS on e-licensing, transitioning how we do our business and putting more opportunities online so people don't have to do as much paperwork when they interact with us. And then offering new ways to do what people are already doing with alternative energy production. And we've had some conversations with the Department of Energy and Environmental Protection about how we can do that. And so there's a lot of different ways that agriculture touches many of the services that we want to provide. And I look forward to working with each of you in order to enhance that opportunity for this industry. Thank you.
Brian, if we were a $4 billion a year industry, what were we 20 years ago, and what does farming look like in 20 years?
I think farming in 20 years is an easier question for me to answer, Governor, but I can get back to you on what it was 20 years ago. It's actually grown significantly over the past 20 years. And as we've seen, especially with the proximity of Connecticut consumers to our markets, people are demanding more. So more locally grown, more CSAs, more access in restaurants. I was just out at Hopkins Vineyard this morning in Warren, and a partnership with DECD, talking about tourism and agritourism and what we can do to draw Connecticut consumers out from suburbs and urban areas to enjoy small Connecticut businesses. So I think in 20 years you'll see more of that. You'll see more of the alcohol production. You'll see more farm to chef, farm to table opportunities. And I think you'll see a lot more people who are doing a little bit in their own backyard to connect with the state's heritage and history.
So good morning, Governor. Thank you. I'm Tim Larson. I'm the Executive Director of the Office of Higher Education. What I found most important in the first 90 days is not many people in the Connecticut General Assembly know exactly what we do in the Office of Higher Education, which is okay. But we do a number of different functions. It's been really, actually very, very rewarding. I think people are really inspired. There seems to be a new attitude and a new appetite for what's going on in Connecticut, particularly in these divisions. So I have the licensing and accrediting of all of the independent and for-profit colleges. So anything that's really not a UConn State University or community college falls into our purview. We also have post-secondary opportunities like the Porter and Chesters of the world. We have a veterans program. We manage the Roberta Willis Scholarship, which is a $34 million program for Connecticut students. We do the alternative route to certification for teachers and a couple of other grant type programs along with the AmeriCorps program. So what I find interesting is that our workforce, they're engaged, they're excited, they want to come to work every day and do great things. A lot of things that we have in our department are right in front of us. I'm just started to work with the alternative route to certification in this MTIP program, putting together both of those programs into one and actually helping to recruit some more minority teachers. I'll get with Paul maybe later on today and flesh that out. But I think that there's something right in front of us that we just need a little energy behind, and it'll grow to be great. I spent Thursday afternoon in Waterbury at Post University and at Porter and Chester Institute. So when you talk about what's the future, right? You talk about this online learning, and we have 7 or 8, online learning colleges that we facilitate here in Connecticut, but most of that direction seems to be going towards an online, and Post tells me that they were one of the very first universities to put together a full online bachelor's degree. Come to find out, they also have over 350 people in downtown Waterbury in a renovated building at their call center. Very, very, very interesting, beautiful building. Everybody seems to be engaged. And then you go across the parking lot and you talk to the people at Porter and Chester, and they had 4 or 5 different people who are actually pulling certificate winners out of the Mitsubishi dealership is looking for those auto mechanics to come out of the Porter and Chesters. I see some combination of this online and this post-secondary certificate type program going forward. I forget John's last name, but he's the president of the college, and I give him credit for this. We're all going to live longer. I think gone are the days where you worked at UTC like my father did for 37 years and then retired and lived off your pension. I think today you're going to have 4 or 5 or 8 or 12 different types of capacities. And so this certificate planning and this online ability and the technology, I think, is where we're headed. And I hope that the efforts that we're putting together with the independents and with these post-secondary opportunities is where we should be going. What I'm hearing from the Porter and Chesters is these kids are coming to those certificate programs and maybe looking for some type of tuition assistance or some help in that way. But it's very exciting. It's just wonderful to be there. It's a great facility. Starting to communicate with other commissioners as to how we can collaborate. I think that because at one point my agency was going to merge, several people have sort of left. My technology is very old. I've already talked to Josh about how I can upgrade, and we'll get there. But we're excited and ready to go to work.
Good afternoon. I'm Michelle Siegel, and I'm honored and privileged to be the Commissioner for the Department of Consumer Protection. We regulate a wide range of consumer industries. Our overarching goal is to create a safe and fair marketplace where consumers and businesses can interact and do business. I guess not a whole lot still surprises me, but one thing that has been a pleasant surprise is how quickly this team has come together and coalesced, and how kind of have this group of people who are already working together as a single unit, and that's been terrific. In terms of some of the initiatives we're working on, certainly we're glad we're able to be a part of the initiatives to address the opioid epidemic, and we're working with DPH, DMIS, and others on that, and that's been really important. Of course, there's hemp that was mentioned. We're doing a lot of work on license streamlining, and that's been ongoing effort at DCP, and we continue to work with a range of different agencies on that. We regulate so much. We interact with a lot of people in different ways. In terms of our goals, we've been creating this culture of continuous process improvement and really want to continue doing that, constantly evaluating what we're doing, continue moving forward with our licensing streamlining and look at ways can it be simplified, or is there ways to even reduce burden altogether. So those are a couple of the things. And then in addition, we're taking a fresh look at how are we measuring both our progress towards our goals and our success in those areas. So thank you.
Good afternoon, I'm Rollin Cook, and I've come clear across the country to be part of this team.
But you didn't come the farthest, though.
What's that?
Washington State.
I don't have a comeback for that, so I'll leave that alone. I just got to know, I mean, from being surprised, I honestly couldn't have anticipated the incredible welcome that I've received from everybody here and all the people from our department, the advocacy groups and everybody. It's been pretty amazing. And I also couldn't have anticipated their passion for criminal justice reform. That's been amazing to watch. When we talk about my priorities right now, right out of the chute, to be honest, folks, I hit the ground running from the very first day. And I thought our priorities were going to be criminal justice reform, and they're still up there. But I think when I'm asked that today, I definitely bring up the point that it's health services, and that is our highest priority inside of our corrections system, as well as some juvenile justice incarceration issues. And I say that because I think they are the most important. It is about taking care of people. When we talk about long-term goals, I remember talking to the governor, and I told him that we want to carry on that momentum, and we will in regards to criminal justice reform. But I think it's also important that from our standpoint that corrections has changed a lot, and it's about improving and building lives and returning people better than we received them, which in turn makes our communities safer. And when I say that, that definitely rings true when we need to improve our health care and some of the operational challenges we have there. When it comes to collaboration, I wish I could take some credit for it, but many of the people around this table, from Secretary McCaw to Commissioner Delphin Rittman, who had to spend 2 days with me at a table, we were working on our medicated assisted treatment and stuff in Washington, D.C. So many of you have reached out, and I'm just telling you, I'll be coming for each one of you because part of criminal justice reform is about, improving employment, improving housing, improving education, treatment. It's about families, about bringing all those things together. So when you say this, you see this great big guy at your door, don't run, just answer the door. I think that's all I have today.
I'll just add that Rollin and I went to the Cheshire Correctional Facility together. As you drive up, it looks just what you expected it to be, dating back to 1959. But in 2019, you see what's going on inside that facility is so radically different than anything I had anticipated. And as you point out, some of the folks, they're getting their degree. What we're doing in terms of workforce development and training people and making sure they get that chance. And Miriam, a lot of folks, that's where they are for mental health. I mean, you learn how many facets there are to corrections, and that's the right word, corrections.
And Commissioner, could you just talk very briefly about those in the corrections system that have substance abuse issues and what you're doing to make sure that those addictions are treated so that when they come out, they're ready to be a productive part of our society?
Sure, and I think that's an area where we can grow just a little bit. Obviously, we provide addiction and treatment services, but there's many things that we don't have to go back and reinvent the wheel. But I'd like to, when we talk about going to the TRUE unit at Cheshire, that's about 60 or so men. We have 13,000 people. So one of the things we've been talking about with our team is expanding our programs and treatment and getting the inmates out of their cells more and providing them opportunities to grow and to build and to address a lot of those addiction challenges that they have. So we do have some, but we can do a lot better, and it's going to take time, and it takes resources, and so we'll continue to work through those. And that maybe wasn't a direct answer to what you're saying, but I hope that you hear that it's there, but we're going to be bringing more to the table over the next several years because that's a key component to their success.
Good afternoon. Tom Sadi, Commissioner of Veterans Affairs. I want to thank you, Governor, Lieutenant Governor, for your faith in me to continue to lead the agency and for your continued support of our veterans. At the Department of Veterans Affairs, we have our 4 core functions in healthcare, residential program services, advocacy, and assistance in cemetery and memorial services. And in each of those, we have major initiatives that are currently ongoing. One of the most important being the transitioning of our healthcare center to a long-term skilled nursing facility in collaboration with OPM, DSS, and DPH. We've been making that heavy lift, and we are close to success there. Another major initiative is updating our residential programs and services to build greater independence in our veterans and individual capacity to move them to community-based housing, employment, and reconnect with family and friends in a community-based setting. We are currently expanding and improving the appearance of our state veterans cemetery in Middletown in collaboration with the federal government. And in our Office of Advocacy and Assistance, we have significantly updated the training that we perform for nearly 150 municipal veterans representatives who are appointed by statute to specifically include new and updated training on female veterans issues. This also includes significant cross-agency training with DOL, DSS, Federal VA, Women's Health Center, and the Small Business Administration. These all involve additional community cross-agency collaborations, including MOUs with UConn Health to provide physician services at the skilled nursing facility, DEMIS for substance abuse counseling, as well as community-based partnerships with nonprofits, including the Connecticut Veterans Legal Center and Easter Seals, allowing us to expand our capacity to provide services to veterans and their families without additional need for funds from the state from appropriations. Another, just a group of partnerships we have is with DCF, DOC, CSSD, and Judicial, and the Connecticut Military Department and Post Academy, who all conduct training on our campus in Rocky Hill. And generally that is conducted with no additional cost to those agencies, and in turn those agencies provide us with significant safety training and security training to our personnel and allow us to comply with additional regulatory matters without additional cost to the agency. I just want to end with one thing. I've said this before, legislative committees and others. Oftentimes, it is not that there's a lack of programs and services, but there is a lack of connecting individuals who need those programs and services with those entities and elements that have them. And so I commend Governor and Lieutenant Governor, your initiative here to create additional communication, cross-agency collaboration. And I know, Governor, you said this, and others have underscored it, is looking to increase our information technologies to connect those in need with the programs and services that exist. And thank you.
Good afternoon, buenas tardes. Seila Mosquera Bruno, Department of Housing. So as you know, I was a developer, a nonprofit developer, and I used to complain about the Department of Housing. So don't complain. And since I was complaining so much, God said, well, go and fix it. So I got to the department, and what surprised me the most is that people really wanted to work, really care about housing, because as you all know, housing, a home, is what we all look forward at the end of the day. So the interesting thing is that they don't have technology or the technical skills that they needed in order to be able to provide and to move projects. So my shock was that we had about $100 million approved projects, about a little over 30 projects, about 1,200 units that have not been closed for a couple of years. So that was the first shock. I thought that it was 4 or 5 projects. I got 30 projects. And then I found out that there were another $90 million in projects that were approved between 2018 and 19, but have not gone through bond commission. So you know how popular I was for the first 3 weeks. Everybody wanted to talk to me. And I said, hold on, I don't have the money. I sent them to Melissa. So that has been a very interesting. So my first month has been to prioritize what projects, how can we get and close those projects that are ready to go, that have been approved, that have bond commission approval. So my goal is that within the next 6 months, we will be able to do that. My second priority is also to be able to prioritize those projects that have been approved but not gone through the bond commission. And with the Secretary Makawa, we have been working on it, and I think we're close, maybe a couple of weeks, that we can do that. And then my third item that I'm working on is we need to change the system that we have been working with. So I have recruited 3 leaders in the affordable housing field, and they're going to be working with me and with internal and external stakeholders, because we will be changing that process, policies, and procedures. So I want to be able to get feedback from the community. I know I have my own thoughts, but I don't want to impose on anybody. So they're very excited about the new ways, and we can how we can maximize the resources from the state is basically, and how can we attract some private money into the developments.
Thank you. Jordan SCHEFF, Department of Developmental Services, Governor, Lieutenant Governor. I continue to be humbled by your request to have me stick around a little while longer, and I love doing what I do on behalf of those I do it for. The agency oversees all the supports for individuals with intellectual disability across the state of Connecticut, both private and public. Currently, more than 90% of our services are provided in our private provider network, and the balance of those remaining in our public sector. I guess the biggest surprise for me is that there hasn't been any bad surprises in the first 100 days, which really makes running an organization this size a lot easier. We haven't had to change course drastically or reverse course, which can be even worse. And so that makes the continued direction we're heading in just a little easier to get to. We have a number of initiatives we're working on. We've been working on and some new ones in the areas of employment and residential supports. Very excited about our initiatives around the use of technology, making our service delivery system more efficient to provide the right service at the right time, at the right place, at the right cost. In addition to technology, we continue to engage in a multi-agency statewide lean process, trying to take some of the red tape out of the way we do business with our sister agencies at Department of Mental Health and Addiction Services, Department of Children and Families, Rehab Services, Department of Social Services, and I look forward to continuing that work under your leadership. Thank you for having me here today.
Okay. Good afternoon, everyone. This is the Commissioner for the Department of Public Health. My name is Renee Coleman-Mitchell. I am actually quite honored to be here. Thank you, Governor and Lieutenant Governor as well. I wanted to kind of start off saying that, again, yes, I am the farthest, but I'm not one that's not known for being in Connecticut. I actually returned about 4 weeks ago today to Connecticut from the state of Washington, which I was in higher ed at the time, but no stranger to the Department of Public Health. I think this is my 3rd stint at the department, and I'm just quite honored to be the commissioner. With that said, for 4th week in running, my goal is to really have an opportunity for a listening tour. A listening tour in-house from staff, a listening tour in the community level. It's a 3-tier approach. At the department, but also in the community with organizations and also at the grassroots level. I truly feel that in order to really provide services and to really know what you need to do, you gotta hear the people from where they're from and where they're at. And so my goal is to kind of spend the next several months as a sister agency from DMV is gonna be doing, just to kind of be out there and kind of getting that feel that I used to have when I worked for DPH back in the day. I will tell you that I have a number of priorities, but some rise to the top more than others. The first is being the health equity aspect, health equity for all. Also addressing the opioid issue here in the state of Connecticut, chronic disease, establishing a men's health unit. I have to tell you, I worked at DPH since 1986, and I've always said, and it deals with having my own dad and grandfather and uncle, that men's health is just as important as our children and our women. So I am really excited to have that kind of start. And also workforce development. That's a key piece too that I really want to kind of focus on for the staff, as well as for myself, called self-care, which we all need, right? So the other piece to that is that I have had a wonderful opportunity in the last 3 weeks to collaborate, but I will tell you the Department of Public Health has been extremely key and having many collaborations and partnerships, so it's not anything new, it's just really to enhance it. So in the 3 weeks in running that I can say to my sister agency commissioners that have started April 1st along with me, it's been tremendous in terms of opioid use. We've been participating on the AIDS and Drug Policy Council, and as a result of that, sister agencies from DEMIS and DCF came to the discussion about DPH having a lead role in our data and having a work group. Why not, right? Because data drives what we do. It's evidence-based, so that's really key. I had an opportunity last week to participate on the Board of Regents, and I sat there and thought, okay, one of my priorities is workforce development. Why couldn't we have an opportunity for our entry-level staff who want to go back or start school, and have that bridge with our Board of Regents and the colleges that are in that system to hopefully open up their agenda for our staff here to be able to go back to school or go to school. We also have the partnership with DEMIS, which we, oh gosh, that was my first day of employment, April 1st, literally where we launched together the whole response to the opioid use. I was a deer in headlights. But I will tell you that I was so proud of the staff at DPH, along with our sister agency, DEMIS, in regards to our NORA, which is naloxone overdose response app. I got to think of all these things because there's a lot happening. But it was an opportunity to kind of talk about and showcase what we're doing to try to address opioid use in the state of Connecticut. I also want to bring to your attention that we are continuing to work with our local health partners regarding measles, right? Something that we thought we had eradicated in the U.S. as much as we can think back into 2011 or 2000. And yet here we are with 3 cases to date with cases of measles. So we've been working with our local health partners, and never forget them because they're on the front lines in our community. And then lastly, I just want to say, there's so many partnerships, so many collaborations that will continue. Our goal is to enhance it. And I say to all of you around the table, if we haven't partnered with you in terms of DPH, we will, because there's health, public health, in everything you do, everything.
I'll just say that Renee had not even gotten off the airplane when we put her in front of the microphones. She's backed by popular demand. What we did that day in terms of opioids, and to work together in technology and help people, show them you can get back on your feet. The perspective you bring from Washington State, thank you.
And I just asked, Commissioner, I was a little bit disturbed to read, I think over the weekend, that we may be getting a second round of flu cases, and what are we doing about that?
Well, again, local health is the key. Our goal, as always with DPH, is to really educate, prevent, protect, and preserve the safety of our Connecticut residents. So we are working to make sure that our folks that are on the front lines have the information and the vaccines that they need. We as a state agency do a huge purchase of vaccines for Connecticut residents, and so we're working with local health and some of our private partners as well to make sure that information gets out, to educate them that those who are at the highest risk for flu in terms of their health conditions, being immunocompromised or other conditions there may be. So we're working through that system of local health partners and health directors.
So does that mean people need to get another flu shot? Like if you got one at the end of October, maybe time to think about getting another one?
Not a clinician to say that exactly, but I would be able to get back to you on that. I would think that once you had your flu shot, you should be good, but I definitely will get back to you.
Good afternoon. My name is George Perez, Governor, Lieutenant Governor. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to continue as Commissioner of the Department of Banking. Department of Banking main function is to regulate the financial industry, which includes banks, credit unions, debt collectors, student loans, mortgage companies, and a number that some people find interesting is dealer brokers, which is approximately 167,000 of those in Connecticut. We do that in order to make sure we have a strong, viable, reliable financial system to make sure our state continues to grow economically. And we do that to make sure that people comply with federal and state laws while still protecting consumers in a way that could be a win-win for everyone involved. Some of the initiatives, there's several initiatives we're working on, a couple that are coming to fruition. is the centralization of our human resource and payroll and benefits into DIS Smart Unit. Another one is we're working on some, creating some scholarships, not scholarships, internships, not only for the industry with the Department of Labor, but also for the department in order to expose people who are traditionally not exposed to banking or financial institutions as a career. And the department is extremely excited that finally we're upgrading our IT system, which is over 20 years old. And rumor has it that by June 30, we'll be fully engaged in e-license. Again, that's another initiative that we've done with OPM and DIS. Thank you.
Good afternoon, Governor, Lieutenant Governor. My name is Scott Jackson, and I am the Commissioner of the Department of Revenue Services. Thank you very much for allowing me to continue my service after I invested 6 months at the end of the last administration learning Title 12, which is no mean feat. This is my 9th direct government job in 25 years at the state, federal, or local level. And I've had a chance to work directly with most people around the table and look forward to working with the rest of you. Plenty of the folks around the table I've worked with since before I was in state service, exactly 4 years ago. DRS is 570 of the best tax professionals in the state of Connecticut. Now on the day that the income tax was instituted, we were 1,100. So technology means a lot to us because that's the only way that you can continue to move forward with that. So I appreciate the help from DAS in getting contracts signed with a major vendor who has, I think, 34 now of the largest taxing jurisdictions. And so we will be implementing our updated software starting on May 1st. Our job is the fast and efficient processing of $20 billion. The $20 billion that supports all the great programs that you guys have talked about. So we're the front door for those dollars, and if you haven't gotten your state refund and you filed on time, you should be getting it very shortly. We're pretty efficient in getting those things out. We get most of that $20 billion comes in through voluntary compliance. People just doing the right thing. Sometimes people make mistakes, and we understand that. But we do have a couple hundred people in the agency whose job is to A, fix those mistakes, or B, track down the people who are deliberately avoiding their responsibility to our communities. I did a survey of the whole team, just asked, what do we do, what should we do more, what can we do better? And I made a word map out of it. And the big word in the middle was public education. We kind of got out of the business of going out in the world and talking to groups about how to do tax. And so starting a couple of weeks ago, we restarted that program with our partners at the Spanish American Merchants Association in Hartford and in New Haven. We're doing road trips, and so we're gonna be pushing out, I think, to the Chambers of Commerce next. So I definitely wanna collaborate with our friends at DECD to make sure that if we're going out, that you know where we're going, when we're going, if there's anything that you wanna add to that program. We're also very good at data security. So if anyone needs a roadmap in terms of data security, we're very good at it, hardware and software. We have to, by General Statutes 1215 as well as Pub 1075, which Commissioner WESTBY has no doubt memorized. We also just bought into a data insurance package. A mega breach can be very costly. So we're insuring that risk, and we set the policy so that other agencies can buy into it as needed. So please, I'm a phone call away if you think that's something that would be helpful or useful to you. And I'm also looking for data projects. We have a lot of data. We have never shared it. But under 1215, we can share it with an executive agency in the course of their business. So I'm looking for the opportunity to sort of crack through that wall. So if you guys have any thoughts, any projects, we're here to help. Thank you.
Good
afternoon, Governor and Lieutenant Governor. My name is Amy Porter, and I want to thank you for the opportunity to continue as Commissioner for the Department of Rehabilitation Services. We are an aging and disability agency. Our mission is maximizing opportunities for the independence and well-being of people with disabilities and older adults. One surprise to me, I guess, is how everybody around the table has embraced the one-team approach. Aging and disability touches everybody, just like public health touches everybody, and some of the things we've heard today. And we have an incredible team in our agency. We have an incredible team of providers, but as Commissioner Sadi said, sometimes it's about making the right connections. It's about being at the table and building disability and aging concepts into the work that we all do instead of creating separate systems for that. So I'm excited to be able to continue on that path. We have a strategic plan that starts with the organizational piece. We've historically been a disability services agency, and now we are an aging and disability service agency. So one of the governor's implementer bills is about rebranding and becoming the Department of Aging and Disability Services, and we're hoping that that will pass with flying colors and become effective October 1st. As part of that, it's about rebranding. It's about talking to our customers and understanding how we can look at functional need rather than disability or age, and really try to understand what it is that folks need as we move forward. So that's our organizational piece. We have a huge internal focus, making sure that people on the aging side and the disability side learn about one another, learn about the services that are out there, and make those connections. We have a lot of external education to do, but also bringing to this table, there's workforce development came up a whole bunch of times already, and we have an untapped resource of people with disabilities and seniors who want to be working and are not being utilized to their full potential at this point. So trying to bring those to the table is one of our keys. And being able to have the technology to support all of that is critical for us. We have a ton of cross-agency collaborations, probably too numerous to mention, but one that is more recent. We were awarded a technical assistance grant on a no wrong door technical assistance grant. It's about person-centered planning, huge connections with the Department of Social Services and Commissioner BREMBY's team. Money follows the person, to make sure that you're looking at the person. It doesn't matter which way somebody comes into our system, and that's exactly what I think your administration's talking about, is making sure that people get the services they need no matter where they come from. So those are some of our key pieces, and I'm excited to continue on all of them.
Are we unique, given that we have a focus on aging that's been added to rehab, or are we an older state and younger states don't have the same focus in terms of demos?
Both. I think there are a couple of states. Vermont does have an aging and disability agency together, and at a federal level, they've combined aging and disability services under the Administration for Community Living. So there are models out there, but most states are still separate in what they're looking at. And as we're looking at our system, there's so much overlap in the services because it's based on functional needs. So I think we're unique, and I think we can be a leader and a model agency for the country.
And Commissioner Porter, you took the mic so quickly. I didn't have a chance to ask Commissioner Jackson if he had any good news and additional revenue to report that might make us happy.
I am pleased to report that receipts have been strong. So last year was an extraordinary year because of the forced repatriation of foreign dollars, so we have to kind of throw away the numbers from last year. But we're tracking very strong in some of the baseline areas, withholding. Sales tax is a little bit off, but we are above tax year 2016 numbers, which is sort of our last good benchmark.
Governor, Lieutenant Governor, fellow commissioners, truly honored to be part of the team, and I'm humbled to represent the over 5,000 men and women of the Connecticut National Guard. We consider ourselves Connecticut's home team. We're the governors. We have, which includes not only Army and the Air Guard, but also the state militia. And I'm, as far as surprises, I'm thoroughly impressed day to day by the young folks, soldiers and airmen, who raise their right hand to volunteer to be part of something larger than themselves. And in taking that oath to the Constitution, you know, they ultimately take an oath to make the ultimate sacrifice. I find day to day, if you give limited guidance, firm guidance with a task and purpose, and not really tell them how to peel back the onion, they thoroughly impress me every day with how they get after a given problem set. We have both a state and federal mission. So as the governor, as commander-in-chief, we have a state mission. We work closely with the Office of Emergency Management and Protective Services, and we are ready when the governor calls for things like storms, tornadoes, winter hurricanes, and flooding. Our federal mission is with when the governor calls, so, when the president calls, so that's our federal. So again, the state and federal mission. We have nearly 300 service members currently deployed from Romania to Cuba. I was able to get out to Texas on Friday, and we saw a unit off that went to Cuba on this past weekend. So they left Connecticut, went trained for about 4 weeks, and they officially got to Cuba on Saturday morning. So we're from Romania to Cuba, from Afghanistan to right here in the United States. Our number one priority is readiness. Readiness for when the governor calls for whatever given problem set is here within the state to protect the citizens of Connecticut and also to protect the capabilities that we bring. So at the federal level, I think what we do month to month is fight to make sure that we have the right capability sets. So when the governor does call or the president calls, we're able and ready to perform. One of our number one priority is readiness. A couple initiatives we have. Cyber as an initiative. So one of those units that's currently deployed is a cyber warfare team. I'm looking at how when they get back from their deployment, how they can add value to the state, just like we do with filling sandbags during a flood. I think we could help in that arena. We had a meeting last month with potentially, and we're looking for partnerships to purchase or to look at a cyber range. So how we could work with industry, our state and federal partners, and test vulnerabilities and how that team of cyber warriors can help and react. And like I said, just like we do in flooding or winter storms, we can add value to that arena and that space as well in the future. Another goal is education and a lot of discussion on workforce development. I talk about opportunities. So one of our goals, or one of my personal goals, is to make sure that every high school kid and their parents know that thanks to the state legislature in the late 80s that members of our organization get 100% college tuition at any state and technical school. So that's one of our main recruiting pitches. Now, it's not for everyone to raise their right hand and volunteer. I've got a teenage son. He's got strong thumbs from Xbox and all that other good stuff. But I thoroughly believe that there are young patriots out there. We look every day to recruit them as part of our organization. And I look forward to helping and collaborating and building partnerships with all of you to help get that message out. Thank you.
Good afternoon, everybody. I'm Vicki Veltri, and I'm the Executive Director of the Office of Health Strategy. First, I want to thank Governor Lamont, Lieutenant Governor Bysiewicz for keeping me on for this administration. I think we have a lot of good things we can do. You won't be surprised to hear that while Connecticut is a very high-quality healthcare state, we're also one of the most expensive states for healthcare. That makes for a very big challenge for economic development, for small businesses, for individuals to thrive in the state. It means we have to take creative steps to address the rate of healthcare cost growth here in Connecticut. We do that in our office by promoting data-driven strategies that make the healthcare system fairer for everyone. I couldn't agree with Commissioner Coleman-Mitchell more that health is in everything. So health in all policies, I think, is a very extraordinary step that we could take as a state to drive healthcare improvement across our entire state for residents and businesses. We have several initiatives that we're working on in the state right now that we think can actually promote higher quality healthcare for a lower amount of money and increase the healthcare outcomes that we have as a state. One is the theme of the hour, technology improvement. The Office of Health Strategy has charge of the coordination of statewide health information technology initiatives. And so we are working with hundreds of stakeholders in the state to embark on a robust health information exchange that we're hopeful to launch very shortly. We are partnering or working to partner hopefully with DAS. We met with Commissioner Jabal about how some of the work we're doing that has some federal components to it can help with the cross-agency work that's going on here in the state. We are working on a very large primary care reform initiative for the state. We think that we have to drive primary care here in Connecticut to improve our longer-term care expenditures on the other side. Our work is done in collaboration with hospitals, with individual providers, with the healthcare payers here in Connecticut, and with consumers and large employers. It's only through that kind of convening and cross-sector collaboration that we think we can drive the improvements that we're trying to drive. The other area where we have very significant focus is in cost and market impact of statewide system changes going on here in Connecticut. The healthcare environment in Connecticut, like everywhere in the United States, is changing quite rapidly. Federal regulation keeps coming down almost every week, and we as a state have to be responsive to that. So that means not necessarily telling everybody what to do, but sort of fostering an environment where our providers and our employers can succeed. So we're spending a lot of time scrutinizing cross-market applications for acquisitions and mergers and things that could unnecessarily drive up healthcare costs for employers and individuals in the state. Finally, I would say that we have a last initiative that is called Health Enhancement Communities, and that's in partnership actually with DPH, where we are trying to drive a mindset that health improvement can be driven from community and deep in community by bringing provider sectors together with payers to hopefully bring down the incidence of adverse child events and healthy weight, to improve healthy weight in our communities. We think that will actually bring down healthcare costs, improve quality of life, and probably bring some revenue into the state of Connecticut through Medicare. We're working on a very large demonstration project that we hope will maximize revenue to the state of Connecticut. So with that, I guess I will turn it over to Commissioner Mays.
Thanks, Vicki. Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Andy Mays. I'm the Commissioner of the Connecticut Insurance Department, and we are charged with regulating the business of insurance in Connecticut. And I want to say thank you to the Governor and to the Lieutenant Governor for the chance to work with some of the best regulators in the world. I've had some insurance experience myself, and the Connecticut Department has always had a great reputation. It was wonderful to go in and to see that it was all true. Now, the one thing that surprised me was going in and seeing how much these people who had all been so successful wanted to embrace the technology and the innovation that is driving the rest of the industry. It's, the people who are successful are always the hardest to change, and I thought I'd have to go in and motivate change. No, they want it. Josh, I know you're coming over later. We're just going to be asking you for more, and your people have been great. The core mission of the department is consumer protection, and I define that pretty broadly. There's the usual day-to-day stuff. We make sure consumers get what they pay for when they need it. But there's also the idea that consumers are protected by increased competition and by inclusion, among other things. When I started, I think it's about 6 weeks ago now, one of the things I found out was that our licensing exams for producers was only given in English. We've got about 125,000 producers, agents and brokers that we license. But the exam was only in English. Immediately, we got to work on that. And today, I just found out that as of October 1st this year, the exam will be offered in Spanish. So that will open it up to a whole new audience. And that's what I'd like to see with insurance, inclusion on every level, both in terms of using the product and in terms of the workforce that insurance companies employ. For competition, we've been working hard, and I have to give my predecessors lots of credit for this, on InsurTech. I've been going around saying that what I want when I leave is for Hartford to be known as the InsurTech capital of the world. This is the future of the industry, and that's what I'll be working on. I know, Commissioner Lehman, we've reached out to you, and I'm hoping that we will be able to make this happen at least in the next few years, because I want to be young enough to enjoy being able to say, I helped do that. couple of the, that we've been working with a number of people around the table. Vicki probably most closely. She's my new best friend. We've been working on the public option, on Access Health and others. And as we go along, the basic goal is the same. Make sure insurance is there for the people who need it, so it can stimulate the economy in Hartford and help preserve the economy throughout the state. Thank you.
Good afternoon, Governor, Lieutenant Governor, other commissioners. My name is James Ravella. I'm the Commissioner for the Emergency Services and Public Protection. And if you haven't watched the news, we have been busy. But we enjoy it that way. I represent 1,500 people in 6 different divisions, all of which are dedicated to the protection of our public and our citizens in their worst times in their lives, right? We train and certify not only the firefighters and the police officers in the separate academies. Every time you pick up a phone, emergency service telecommunications for your 911, Department of Scientific Services, which tests all those pieces of evidence that the police officer pick up, and we liaison with the state's attorney's office. Our emergency management framework, obviously, in times of need or in times of climate difficulties or hurricanes and those snowstorms, and the Connecticut State Police. And moving on just a little bit, Josh, thank you very much. We went on the most robust recruiting campaign for Connecticut State Police. 1 week into it, we have 700 applicants that have made it through the questionnaire, which is unheard of around the country. We expect that to be quite a bit. And Lieutenant Governor, 19% are women. And I thank you. You're coming down Wednesday to the Post Academy, and you're going to speak, and we have 5 more weeks of robust recruiting to do. And thank you very much. We have an opportunity, we have an opportunity in our post, our police officer standards and training, to bring our academy standards for our police officers into the 21st century, and we're presently examining that. Of course, internally, the backlogs are always difficult for us to overcome, and technology is helping us, and Beth will make sure we don't get fined. All right, that's a pretty big ticket. We'll get those fingerprints done. We have one of the most robust radio systems from emergency telecommunications people, and Governor, we've been giving that away to municipalities. Recently, the town police in Stonington, Groton, and Norwich have already jumped on our radio system, saving millions of dollars in that area. It's very robust. It can handle up to 80,000 users. It is state-of-the-art equipment. All it requires is the municipality to buy their own radio equipment. We supply the backbone. And DOT, we can handle every car, every truck, every snowplow we put out there for the future, so we can handle that moving forward also. This week, probably tomorrow or at the latest Wednesday, you'll see some unheralded transparency for the Connecticut State Police and myself to bring out to our public in New Haven exactly what happened, and we'll stitch together some of the video that is out there. I'm waiting for one last piece of information, which I expect to have either later on today or tomorrow early, and I hope to get that out Tuesday or Wednesday. It's the public's right to know, and when I was in Hartford, we had a mantra that said that good news came out quickly, bad news came out quicker, and that we like to show our public exactly what's going on, and I'll be able to do that for them very soon. So the world of sensors, and if I had to embark on a new kind of endeavor, it would be the world of sensors out there. And as we talk about revenue, you have a lot of information out there, right? Some of that is protected, and others we actually use. So that's interesting. Josh, the world of sensors, when we talk about what is actually out there for intelligence for my folks, but it's actually taking information in and putting information out. Melissa, you've actually seen that over in Hartford in the old C4. and how we manage that. And if we get into the camera business, how do we manage our cameras, and how do we manage license plate readers, and how do we supply that information? How do we take information in, and how do we put it on a platform that's readily usable to send out? And it's not just for law enforcement, ladies and gentlemen, it's for fire, it's for every agency that contributes. Department of Correction, there's a huge amount of information that you have in data there. So that would probably be my endeavor. And Josh, I'll be knocking on your door again, but I can't thank your folks enough. So thank you, everyone.
Hello, Governor, Lieutenant Governor, and all my esteemed commissioners that are joining us today. I'm Vanessa Durantis from the Department of Children and Families, and so much of what many of you around the table have resonated with me. And for the first 90 days, man, everything is a priority. But what I have learned is that it's doable. System change and system reform can definitely happen when people collaborate. So as far as priorities for the Department of Children and Families, they begin with solidifying our practice related to the most vulnerable. That vulnerability can be an age, everything from our babies and safe sleep campaigns all the way through youth that transition from DCF to other systems like DMIS and DDS, ability through services for intellectual and developmental disabilities, and kids that are exposed to other types of trauma, whether it be through institutional racism or structural things that have impacted kids and families and communities that then find themselves involved with our department, substance-exposed infants and how we interact with other state agencies related to the opioid crisis. The second priority would be aligning our needs to services, one from a fiscally responsive area, because if we reduce repeat maltreatment, it brings down our caseloads, but it also increases the abilities for families to thrive without the involvement of our department. The last piece in terms of our priorities are stabilizing our workforce, of course from the budgetary impact, but of course to improve outcomes for kids and families. And the theme of all of the priorities, again, weaving together this network of wonderful state agencies that have already had some existing collaboration with the Department of Children and Families, but we want to align things correctly to make the most of those collaborations. Some of those that have occurred in the last 90 days, significant collaboration with DMIS, and I can't thank Commissioner Delphin-Whitman so much for her helping me with the learning curve from the role that I had before to this seat. She's been tremendously wonderful. We've worked with Josh and DAS on the consolidation of HR and really thinking through some efficiencies in that area. Commissioner Sadi on the grounds of Veterans Affairs, he talked a little bit about how we use that facility as part of our training exercises to improve our workforce and improve the ability to really step through work with kids and families in a simulated environment. That's an unnatural collaboration, but it works really, really well. I also went down the elevator to meet with Commissioner Mosqueda Bruno and housing. That's another area where Department of Children and Families definitely can interact and intersect with other state agencies, because when you think about people's access to basic needs, if we can address the basic need issue, some of the abuse or neglect or allegations of suspicions of abuse or neglect go away. Poverty does not equal abuse or neglect, and the ways that we can alleviate some of those disconnects would be just really a low-hanging fruit. Some of the other collaborations in the last 90 days have been with Department of Office of Early Childhood and Commissioner Bai. She and I have spoken almost every week. It's been a tremendous partnership to start to build on some of the things, and most recently, just before this meeting, on our subcommittee at the Women and Girls Council that we are also joining with each other on. And echoing the sentiments of Chief Ravella, the episodes and incidences that bring us into the public light in terms of issues that impact the safety of children and families have been a common thread over the last 90 days. So as much as I would want to focus on reform, cases happen, things happen that compromise the safety of kids and families, and he and the state level and our local municipalities have been absolutely wonderful to make sure that those things have not had deleterious impact to kids and families. And it's just been really wonderful to see how open and honest the law enforcement community has been with DCF to help develop strong partnerships and solidify relationships that we've had over the years. So that's been tremendously wonderful. And I also want to acknowledge the infrastructure of the communication that has been established with this administration to ensure that we're kept abreast of what's happening, but also to help navigate media experiences that I, didn't have as much of an experience with before, but it's been wonderful. And then lastly, thinking about how you have instilled the confidence in someone who has lived experience with this department from the workforce aspect, and recognizing that we can do system reform by what we already know, just giving us a minute to kind of take a step back, breathe, look at the landscape, and just align the pieces in ways that it makes really good sense. So thank you very much.
Let me just follow up on that, Vanessa. I mean, we brought in folks from outside the state. We brought in folks from the private sector, bringing a whole new, fresh perspective. You've been on the front lines of DCF for an awful long time, and now you're the senior executive.
Yeah.
A very different perspective. Has anything surprised you when you go from front lines to there, or were you just ready to hit the ground?
I had no choice but to hit the ground. But I will say perspective is everything. There's a groundswell of support from not only our workforce, but also from the advocate community, much like Commissioner Cook talked about through DOC. When you listen to advocates and legislators, sometimes the passion comes across as adversarial, and it's really not. It's really helping our state understand where some of our priorities can align better to make things better for kids and families. And, don't be afraid of rebuilding those relationships with people who might be your worst critics, because when you invite people to the table, you have to allow them to eat. And we have to know that, kids and families in Connecticut can be better if we all listen to each other. We may not always align, but there might be reasons why, and they just want to hear that.
Good afternoon, Governor and Lieutenant Governor. I'm Miriam Delphin-Rittman, Commissioner of Department of Mental Health and Addiction Services. And I also want to take the opportunity just to thank you for giving me the opportunity to continue to serve. So DMAS is a healthcare agency that provides mental health, substance abuse, and prevention services to individuals that are uninsured or underinsured. We serve about 105,000 individuals a year. And our system, just to give you a sense of our system, is comprised of 2 hospitals, which include CVH and Whiting. And we also have 13 local mental health authorities, 6 of which are state operated, and about 150 or so community private nonprofit providers, as many of you know. We have many accomplishments or many priorities. Just one certainly that's been a priority for us is continuing to address the heroin and opiate crisis. We often will comb the federal grants and apply for everything that we're even remotely eligible for applying for. And so we're appreciative that recently we were able to bring in about $40 million in new federal dollars. And it's allowed us to continue to expand and build on some of our partnerships with some of our sister agencies. We know that this is an area that we have seen numbers come down in terms of the overdoses, but there's a lot more work that we have to do here, quite a bit more work that we have to do. And so the collaborations with some of my sister agencies have just been so significant. Just to name a few, so we have ongoing collaboration with Department of Corrections, where we're working on bringing methadone, and Department of Corrections, and so we're funding some of this work, is bringing methadone to 5 pre-release centers, and so that's an area of priority. Also DCF have a number of collaborations there as well. Commissioner Durantis and I co-chair the Alcohol and Drug Policy Council, which is a wonderfully vibrant group of many state agencies, community providers, people in recovery, family members, ER docs, and so that's been one area where many people come to the table to address this issue. We also, in collaboration with DCF, are funding a statewide youth coordinator. That youth coordinator is helping to coordinate and organize the range of substance abuse recovery services across the state for young people, focusing on individuals that are 16 to 24-year-olds. And then DPH, I have a number of collaborations with DPH, and looking forward to continuing to work together and expand those, including helping to disseminate about 2,500 naloxone kits to local health districts, to needle exchange programs, and as well as other community partners as well. We also have a collaboration around our Change the Script campaign, where we're looking to continue to have billboards and other awareness-building materials that we disseminate statewide to help raise awareness. Those are just some of our priorities related to the heroin and opiate crisis. We have other priorities related to data. You know, Commissioner BREMBY and I often talk about how each of our state agencies and many state agencies, we have strong data, but a goal moving forward is to find ways to continue to collaborate and share information across agencies so we can evaluate some of our programs. Many of the individuals that receive services within DEMIS are connected and to touch many other agencies, and so to the extent that we can look at our data in a cross-agency way to look at outcomes and project policy ideas, that's critical. So looking forward to working on that moving forward. We also have priorities related to our young adults. We have a strong young adult service program that we've been working to evolve. The young adults in our program, their employment rate exceeds the national average by about 28%. And so we're looking to continue to expand and strengthen that program so that young people can get connected to the mental health and addiction services that they need, but also get connected to employment services and supports to be able to continue to advance their long-term recovery. Those are just a few of our priorities. I'm looking forward to continuing to expand our collaborations and connect with each of my agencies, sister agencies. I often say that it takes a village, and so I so appreciate our collaborations and being able to work together, and Governor and Lieutenant Governor appreciate the one team and just the collaborative approach that you've been encouraging, because it's been wonderful to work with the commissioners, and looking forward to grow our collaborations. Thank you.
Well, guess you guys are busy. So thank you for that update very much. As you can see, Governor, Lieutenant Governor, we have a very active commissioners who are leading our agencies, whether it's leading redesign, whether it's dealing with the critical issues, working collaboratively. We really have our team together. But now that we have our team together, and now it's about how do we bring about the agenda that you put forth. And so when you gave 2 speeches, your State of the State and your inaugural address, there were some themes that came about. And so as we see through at this word cloud, this really speaks to what we want this administration to be. Focus on economy, focus on workforce development, our jobs, families, our labor force, our education, growth, investing, digital, being cost effective. That's what we're all doing together as one team, one agency, one state. And so in order to bring that about, working with the governor, lieutenant governor, Secretary McCall, as well as Joshua Wall at DAS, we thought it was important to put together and have a performance office that will be within our Office of Policy and Management, led by our Undersecretary and Chief Performance Officer, Dave Wilkinson, who many of you have known, worked in the previous administration as the Commissioner of Office of Early Childhood, but before that, helped lead performance efforts for the Obama administration working down in DC. We thought it would be important for us to bring about all of these various aspects for us to be able to actually be data-oriented and goals-driven. So I'm going to pass it off to Dave just to provide a little update about what we're going to be doing over the next few months to really get this going.
Great, thanks, Peter. I'll go up. Yeah. Great, thank you everyone. Thank you, Governor. Thank you, Lieutenant Governor. Paul, I'm just thrilled to be here with all of you and see so many familiar faces. We covered so much great ground today. It's so great to see the enthusiasm, so much enthusiasm, in fact, that I'm going to cut my comments a little bit short here today because we know the governor has a busy schedule. He's also got a great eye for detail. Notice today my tie is a little long, so I'm glad I'm joining you from behind a podium to get to talk to you about the governor's performance agenda with, that we're deploying with Paul as COO and Secretary McCaw at OPM, where I sit. So I had the great honor and privilege of directing the White House Office of Social Innovation under President Obama. That was an office that he created to find what works and make it work for more people. We doubled down on evidence-based approaches, we used data, we advanced digital solutions, and we generated tens of billions of additional value at the federal and savings at the federal level. In a time of budgetary challenge, much of the conversation in the legislature is about program cuts or new revenues, and largely overlooked in these conversations is the opportunity to generate more value with the dollars we currently spend. And Ben is helping out tremendously today. So thank you, Ben. Achieving, the governor laid out a bold agenda. Achieving that, as he said, in this budgetary challenge will take bold action. To prosper and advance while weathering the storms ahead, Connecticut must be one of the nation's most cost-efficient, data-informed, results-driven states. And there are, thankfully, significant opportunities that are untapped for the Lamont administration to create a better, more effective government, one that generates more value for each public dollar spent and strengthens state capacity and your capacity as commissioners to achieve gubernatorial priorities and your own. This starts with setting goals, with following through, and maintaining a relentless focus on results. So we are kicking off today something that hasn't existed before, but that you've already started on. The Lamont administration is launching a new citizen-centered performance infrastructure. It will be the governor and the COO and the OPM's vehicle to support agencies and oversee and advance an effective, high-impact government. And is driven by a mission to make government more agile, more customer-centered, data-enabled. We heard so many of you mention data and sharing data. We know the challenges. We want to help create a path to that. Be more coordinated and results-driven. In the Obama administration, you talked to cabinet secretaries about being evidence-based and data-driven, and their eyes would roll back in their head until you point to the value proposition of doing so. Again, billions of dollars a year in value as a result of what we were able to do, and we are bringing some of the lessons from around the country as well. So, you know, when resources are constrained, this, as they are in Connecticut and many states, this is our best chance to move the needle on the things that we care about most. And so it's why the governor has put so much emphasis on this priority. So I will just give you a snapshot in fast form of this lean infrastructure that we're standing up to advance performance and results across government. It involves two components. One, to empower and support you as agency leaders to achieve your own objectives and to advance gubernatorial priorities. And two, to advance digital delivery and other cross-agency systems change to build a more citizen-centered government to achieve measurable results. So we'll just do a quick touch on those. One, the performance management system that will be kicking off soon. Some of you have already heard from Paul, and I more will soon. So we will be coordinating the system that's used by the COO and Secretary McCaw to track and advance agency and cross-governmental objectives. The system is going to establish clear goals, set high standards, and serve as an ongoing accountability tool for all of us. It will advance agency alignment and collaboration, and it will serve as an at-a-glance progress indicator for senior officials. I'll return to this in a moment. I'll just touch on the other areas of the performance agenda. One is to modernize digital delivery, really led by Josh and his team and coordinated very closely with Secretary McCaw and hers. We know that government across the country routinely overpays for systems that underperform. In the Obama administration, maybe the biggest challenge was healthcare.gov. If you don't make digital a priority, it will make itself a priority. And so that is why the governor has provided in his budget for a new digital service. I got to be on the ground floor when President Obama created the digital services that really turned around how we approach digital in government. And we are so lucky to have a digital professional leader in Josh Jabal coordinating and leading so much of this work. And I know that many of you, I should announce if you haven't already, will hear from him and my team on your digital approach. And so much more on that agenda that the governor has prioritized, including the digital front door. We will also unleash data to drive results. And so we know there are tremendous opportunities. We've heard, I will spare you the many examples that I saved of how we can generate value through predictive analytics, through really focusing on outcomes through linking the data. For instance, I look at Commissioner Bai. If her child care preventive programs like home visiting had easy access to child welfare data, she'd know which programs are performing best. And we can do that. And I know those conversations are happening. We want to help with those. I'll move on to the next area. If the first two were digital, then the final two are more analog. Breaking down silos and being citizen-centered. I think of the low-income mom, and we can click that one. I think of the low-income mom who shows up at the doorstep of a workforce training program. She may have unstable housing, unreliable childcare. It could be the best workforce program in the country. It's unlikely to be successful for her. Too often we give partial solutions with impossible odds. And as a result, don't spend our public resources as effectively as we could. That's why it's so exciting to see an early childhood commissioner sitting next to a labor commissioner, visiting electric boat. These create win-win-win opportunities, creating the jobs that we need to support families, better outcomes for children, and helping our employers get the talent they need to grow our economy. And finally, becoming outcomes obsessed. The reason our agencies exist is to generate better results for the people we serve, whether it's improving kindergarten readiness or having a more stable infrastructure, healthier populations, you name it. We're in the business of outcomes and results. What are we buying with our dollars? Too often, we focus on process and compliance rather than outcomes and impact. Across the country, we deploy, for instance, in workforce training, and I'm not picking on Commissioner WESTBY at all because we're advanced actually in Connecticut, but we tend to pay for how many people received training rather than how many people got jobs. So we are going to be taking steps towards the outcomes and showing taxpayers that they are buying results with their dollars. Great. Okay, so a quick touch on the next steps for the performance agenda. This is going to start, thankfully there are models that are proven, and we don't have to invent the wheel here. We will start with internal agency goals as well as a few cross-agency goals to really catalyze collaboration, much of which we've already heard about. The goals will be SMART, strategic, measurable, achievable, resourced, and time-bound. I look at my boss, Melissa, and I think resourced, the R in SMART goals isn't usually resourced, but we are talking about working within our current resources to achieve better results, and we know there's great opportunities to do so. And once targets are set, progress will be tracked, and results will be measured and celebrated. It will be organized and coordinated. We go further, faster when we row together. So, what do the next steps look like? The governor's office with Paul and OPM will help develop candidate goals, will help you develop candidate goals, starting with agency strengths, starting with your priorities. We will look for opportunities and efficiencies across government. We will seek to, at our level, spot overlaps, seek out redundancies perhaps, and also opportunities for collaboration. And we will also also provide you with a goals template to be able to work that together with you. This will be a flexible approach. It's not a top-down mandate. This is very much a two-way conversation. I know the challenge of running an agency on a day-to-day basis, and we want to support you in doing that and achieving some of your highest aspirations, along, of course, with the governor and lieutenant governors. So for each priority, we'll ask, what does success look like? How will you achieve those goals? What are the milestones and timelines? And how can the governor's office and OPM help clear a path to success for you? And don't be surprised if you hear us asking for you to help us identify opportunities for savings as well. And we know you share that goal. Paul already discussed a top priority as reflected frequently in the governor's words and around this table around workforce, the economy, growth. That is, of course, a top priority for this administration, and so we will go even deeper in that area with data, analytics, goal setting, and so there will be more on that. All of us, many of us have great things to contribute there by working together. And we will do a couple of other things in the very near term. We will be coordinating grants. We want to maximize our federal revenue. We want to look for opportunities to advance the governor's top priorities. And we also will be finding ways for you to collaborate through significant federal grants. All of this together will this is going to be a performance agenda unlike any other state. Picking from the Obama administration, from best practices, and really, I believe, delivering on the governor's vision, working closely with Josh on digital, with Secretary McCaw and her budget team, and the great data work that's already being led, and of course, with Paul as the Chief Operating Officer of the state. Altogether, it will help us look less like this and more like this. So thanks everyone. Looking forward to working with you.
I would have chosen football pitchers as a former football player. I know Rollin would have thought the same, but I know, seriously. Last time I was on a boat, I got thrown over on the water. But thank you, Dave. Like I said, we're going to start, now that we got the team together, we're going to start kicking this off fully. And so I want to thank you for that. With that, I want to pass it off to the governor just for closing remarks.
Well, if I looked at the word bubbles in terms of what I heard here today, obviously technology was on that list. Collaboration was near the top of that list. Workforce development, you know, and workforce development came out of intellectual disabilities, not just labor. And it just reminds you where a lot of the overlap is. I was really pleased to hear the innovations coming from, places I didn't, for example, we talk about regionalization. Who would have thought that Ravello would be able to talk about how we can share radio frequencies with Stonington, whoever else it was, and what those savings might be, and thinking broadly in terms of how our department can impact our better. Scott Jackson, he's the guy talking about, hey, cyber hacking insurance and ways that I not only do that at DRS, but we can share those programs with others around this table. I can tell you that I shared, I loved Andy's comment that insurance had a pretty good reputation, and once you get inside, I was really proud to see that it's a reputation that's well deserved. And that's what I hear as I, sit around this table. I mean, state government takes its licks, what are they doing? It's all overhead. It really doesn't make a difference. You don't pave my roads. And if I could leave one message with everybody here, it's not just the quality of the folks around this table and the quality of the people that you all work with, which is what you said, Andy. It's also what your state government does for you. This was just a reminder of the incredible mosaic, which is the state of Connecticut, and all the different pieces we need to do to make it work. And we do a lot better than people sometimes understand. And, but, you know, to your point, David, we can do a lot better still, and that we can overpay and underperform sometimes. And I've got to give the taxpayers confidence every day that you're getting what you're investing for, you're making a difference in people's lives, and it's the future of the state that's at stake. So I'm really proud to be here with each and every one of you. Thanks. What do we do now?
I think we conclude the meeting. And first of all, thanks everyone. Like I said, this is the first of many of our gatherings. I think it's time for us to get back to work. Thank you.
You're here.